What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Land Sports Show. I'm your host and facilitator, Kevin Sleds. With me, I have one familiar face from the first show and a couple new faces. James, welcome back.
Yeah, excited to be here tonight. And hey, not about me. Let's talk about these gentlemen right here.
The two newcomers this week, we've got Mr. Joey Schneider, formerly of All Things Cavalier podcast, with myself.
What's going on, everyone? I'm glad to be here. I'm getting ready to talk. Let's talk all things Cleveland.
And last but not least, we've got the head of high school sports for Believe Land Media, Mr. Marshawn Powers. What's going on, Marshawn?
What's going on, man? Can't complain. Just here to talk some sports, man. A little hot. I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't prepared for this heat wave we got, but I'm here.
It's starting to warm up for sure.
Yeah.
You forgot to add in the hardest working man in Believe Land Media.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Hell yeah.
Appreciate it.
I'm surprised he's got time for us tonight.
Man, no, I'm chilling.
The man does more HR. He does more interviews than Amazon HR.
Yeah, I was supposed to go to what's today? Wednesday? No, that's tomorrow actually. So I got my days mixed up. I might have something to do tomorrow and probably take it. I was going out to Midwest Live for the girls, but I don't think I'm gonna make it this week. I think I'm gonna take a little break and then kind of get ready for the boys portion.
But if there's a big event, yeah, Marshawn's usually there.
Yeah,
and,
I find it.
He was at a big event on Saturday. We got into the David Njoku celebrity softball game to just kind of talk about your experience and covering that and how that was for you.
It was pretty cool, man. It was a little nerve-wracking at first because when I first got there, they didn't have a media pass. But when I started to see people like from Channel 19, The Guardians, they also didn't have their pass. I was like, all right, I stopped stressing out about it. But then once I got in there, I got access into the locker room. So I was in there with Joey Gargano. Is that the wrestler from WWE?
Johnny,
yeah.
I'm sorry, man. Johnny, if you listen, I'm sorry. Johnny Gargano.
And
Johnny Wrestling.
Yeah,
Johnny
I was
Wrestling.
surprised, man. I'm bigger than Johnny Gargano. I need to be a wrestler, man. Like, I'm looking at him like, oh, you flying off all the top ropes on SmackDown, and I'm bigger than you?
And his wife, Candice LeRae.
Yeah, Candice LeRae. She was cool. She was pretty cool. She was pretty entertaining. And then Granny Smith and Russ Smith. I don't know who they are, but Smith. It was I guess they're like social media folks.
Yeah, I think they're like YouTube or something.
Yeah, she 96-year-old lady, bro, bunting a softball, bro.
Yeah, so John Kelly did her dirty.
Yeah, John Kelly did her dirty, man. Where did she got all the way
So
there
close
on base. But no, in the locker room I saw them, Bernie, Miles walked in. Miles is, I don't know, man, he's individual. He walked past me and gave me like this awkward look. And I was like, but no, Miles is cool. It was cool. And then after that, we went to the media portion. And that's for like the Mary Kays, Tom Withers, all the the big media, as I call them. They were all there and asking questions. I kind of stood back and just kind of soaked in like what they were doing, how they moved. Just kind of took it as like a learning lesson. Just kind of how they operated and stuff like that. It really wasn't any like great questions. I'm not great. I ain't gonna say great, but it wasn't any questions that like stood out to me that like, I don't know. I guess like that I wanted to report on and stuff like that. But after that, we got to the game, and that's where like all the fun was started. Everybody was BSing around because we was waiting on Travis Kelce, and by the time he got there, they had started the home run derby. And man, I'm not gonna lie, I've never seen the guy that walked in, no warm-ups, gave everybody a high five, no nothing, just picked up a bat, smacked 7 home runs to make it to the finals. It was him, Josh Gordon, Kareem Hunt, and what's the backup tight end for the Browns? Akins.
Jordan,
Akins. I did not know that he was a former baseball player. Like, he had the form. Yeah. He was hitting balls, and I was sitting there talking to Joe. He's like, yeah, he was a former player. I was like, what? And man, he had the perfect form and everything. And Kareem Hunt, I'm not gonna lie, man. Like, a guy extremely athletic, you would not know it. Like Kareem Hunt had the event run, but Travis Kelce is just Travis Kelce, ultimate athlete. Kareem Hunt had 10 home runs. Travis Kelce hit one like at the last second to win the home run derby. And then we got to the actual game. I feel like David Njoku picked his team based off vibes. Myles Garrett picked his team to win. They were up like Myles Garrett was up like 8-3 after the first inning. And then they got up to like 13-3. And then they got to 20-5. And then they just played around the rest of for like 2 more innings and then they called it. But it was a cool overall event, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like to be able to see Nick Chubb walk out, Travis Kelce walk out, Deshaun walk out, and see how the fans like the ovation that the fans gave him, like I feel like we're in for a solid year this year because it was nobody like they showed every player, former player like Josh Gordon, Mac Wilson, like they show all of these guys love, man. So I feel like I'm starting to see the tide turn, man. Just that being at that event alone, and how season may turn out.
So how nervous did everybody get when Deshaun collided with Zaire Mitchell-Payton?
I mean, from my angle, I didn't really think too much of it. I didn't even know it got out, honestly, till we left. But I didn't think too much of it because he bounced right back up. Like he was trying. Him and Zaire was trying to catch the ball together. Deshaun, the ultimate athlete, and he collided with him, jumped right back up. But I'm surprised nobody got the video of David Njoku trying to imitate his best Aaron Judge trying to steal a home run and fell right over the barrier. I was dying laughing when that happened, but
they confiscated all the videos of that.
But no, man, it was a pretty dope overall event. I'm not gonna lie. I wish they would have fed us. I was hungry. I'm not gonna lie, but it was pretty dope, man. I was very, very impressed for my first time to be there after hearing about it. You hear about those events so many years, the name changes. It's been Jarvis Landry softball game, Greg Newsome softball game, always changes, but to actually go to one, it was pretty dope this year.
It was Joe Hayden before that.
Yeah. Joe Hayden, he had it for a couple years.
Yeah, he did it for a while.
Yeah, it was cool that we got in to cover that, and hopefully, we get to do it yearly now.
For sure.
Be awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so get into some Cavs talk here. Coaching search is heating up. We've got 2 leading candidates, James Borrego, who reportedly is also a top candidate for the Lakers now that Dan Hurley turned him down. He interviewed yesterday with the Cavs. Kenny Atkinson is in today, and supposedly now Mika Nori from the Timberwolves is going to be in later this week. So those are the first 3 to get interviewed. It sounds like if they want Borrego, they're going to have to move on him quick. I know, like I said, the Lakers are interested, but he was reportedly turned off a little bit by them going to Hurley. He thought everything went well with them with his interviews. So, Joey, we'll start with you. You were out last week. You're a big Cavs guy. What's your thoughts on the coaching search right now?
Well, I've been able to talk to some people who I trust, and from everything that I'm hearing, it's especially you brought up the the Lakers and the Cavs. The Lakers' job is not as appealing to a lot of coaches as the Cavs' job is, at least long term. You're going to obviously have AD and LeBron. If LeBron resigns, I think he still has to resign. Maybe he's going to pull something crazy out, but assuming that everything goes smoothly, I think long term, as long as the Cavs sign Mitchell, the Cavs' job is just more appealing to most coaches. So I think we'll see what happens as soon as this finals is over. Maybe even before then, as far as that coaching search goes. And really it comes down to, from what I am hearing, the Cavs do not want to move Darius Garland. And it has even been reports that the front office are telling teams that he's actually untouchable. So they now have to sell whoever the coach they want to bring is. They got to sell them on a Garland and Mitchell backcourt. So you got to be willing to come into that Garland Mitchell backcourt, unless something, unless a lot of people are wrong and maybe an offer is made that you can't turn down for Darius Garland. I think that you're probably going to see those two back in Cavs jerseys next year. And whoever, and if that's the case, I actually think Atkinson might be the better fit for this job because he had Curry and he had Clay, and Clay Thompson. Learning under Steve Kerr, that might be the better fit here, as opposed to New Orleans, where they also, they had a whole bunch of wings. And the Cavs do not have one true wing. So I think that that might be the better fit, but that's time will tell. We'll see. And we'll see if anything happens. There's also reports that the Cavs want to move up in the trade in the draft. How true that is, I don't know.
That's weird, and a supposed weak draft. I don't understand that.
I mean, yeah, I don't know if maybe it's moving somebody and trying to get someone younger, or I don't know. I just don't. If you're not trading Garland, I don't know where the value is. Even though I think Allen is valuable, and I know there's teams out there who also really like Jared Allen. I just can't see you moving Jared Allen either, unless you're going to pick up a wing. I mean, that's you have. It's very easy for us fans to basically be armchair GMs and say, oh, I'll trade this person for to go and get this wing. Okay, that's great. And usually it includes Darius Garland but then who's going to be your point guard? Then who's going to be your small forward, or your shooting guard? It's never really addressed. And it's you got to find the right coach, and then what's that coach's strengths? What does he need to work on? And we saw with JB, I really liked JB. I really did. I thought that he was a great coach. He really did great things for this team. But I think that it was really kind of the end of the year. He just couldn't figure out what lineups to go with. He couldn't find, good playoff teams. They know they're 8 guys, maybe 9 guys if you're lucky, that they are going to play in the playoffs. And it just seems like JB always got in his own way with that. We got to the second round, but we barely got to the second round by the Orlando Magic. So I think that really at the end of the day, that is probably what cost them. But I really did like JB. I thought he did great things here with the Cavs. And I think the next coach is going to do great things too. It's just a matter of who's it going to be, how fast are we going to get someone new in here, and is that coach going to sell? Is he going to be able to sell the front office on changes he wants to make, or is it is it truly there really are players that are untouchable? Garland and is DG really untouchable? And that's a time will tell type thing.
All right, Marshawn, I know you're obviously not outside Cleveland, but this will be more of an outside perspective because you're being a Lakers fan. What are you seeing as far as the Cavs coaching search goes, and as far as the roster construction for this season?
Everything Joey said, I kind of agree. I agree with it. I wasn't at first a fan of the Cavs getting Donovan Mitchell because I felt like you kind of already have a small point guard. You need to do everything you can to keep size around him to kind of protect him. Because at one point, if you want to go back to the Warriors, Steph Curry was kind of the smallest player on the court. So what they do, they got as much height as they could around him. That way he didn't always have to guard, the biggest guard. He could probably find a mismatch with a wing that probably is not a great shooter, even though he may be 6'6", 6'7", but he's not really that good at shooting. And the Cavs went and got 2 guys who, I'm not going to say do the same thing, but their style in a sense is the same. They score first guards, and they both great at facilitating. In order for that to work, you're going to have to decide whether it's not really whether. You're going to have to decide what you do with Jared Allen. you can't have two small guards and then two bigs, and one big really doesn't have an offensive package behind 18 feet from the hoop. So I think that it will be Hugh of the Cavs to, some way somehow convince Evan Mobley that the 5 is in your future. We seen it in that game against Boston, the elimination game. What do you got? 30 some odd points against Boston playing the 5. I think that's where he best serves at. If you're gonna get the best out of him, kind of like an Anthony Davis role. So most of these guys don't want to play it because it's more physicality than probably playing a power forward role. But I mean, in order for the Cavs to be successful, you're gonna have to have, if you're gonna keep Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, you're gonna have to have Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, and two wings. You could have Isaac Okoro if the plan is to keep them, but you're gonna have to have two wings that can really shoot and really defend, and on each half of the court. And I mean, that's a tough thing to ask when you have guys under contract like Max Strus, you have under contract for some odd years. Karis LeVert, you still got under contract for another year or so.
One more year.
Yeah. Like it's really they're gonna have to sit down and really figure out what makes sense. Do we keep a Jared Allen and possibly lose one of our guards, or do you really stick to our words and say we're keeping Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, but we're going to put 6'5", 6'6", 6'5" at minimum and above wings around them that's really good at guarding, at defense, and really at good at shooting a 3-ball. I mean, Joey was right. They got past Orlando by the skin of their teeth. I felt like Donovan Mitchell in maybe 3 games max was the best player on the floor. Paolo Campero was a different animal. A guy that I don't think you would want to see again next year. So, I as far as head coach, I would go with James Borrega just because of the relationship he has with Donovan Mitchell, and maybe that could, bring Donovan Mitchell, bring a different level of Donovan Mitchell. Like Donovan Mitchell said allegedly that he wants to be one of the faces of the league. Well, I mean, what better than like actually showing that you could be one of the faces of the league and complete dominance from start to finish, but smart with it. Like there's points of the season where I feel like Donovan Mitchell shot IQ was, just, I'm not gonna say he didn't know what he was doing, but it was just kind of like either a careless shot or just a shot where, he really wasn't paying attention to the flow of the game. So I think it all starts with, me personally, what you gonna do with, Jared Allen, and then somebody that can, get the best out of Donovan Mitchell. Because I think Darius Garland is going to be Darius Garland, an 18-point to 20-point guy who can get you anywhere between 5 to 8 assists. Like, that's going to be him. Darius Garland's problem is, he doesn't assert himself when needed. I mean, how many times in the playoffs did the Cavs need Darius Garland for 25 or more points, and he only could get you 15? Like, he has to figure out ways to assert himself a little bit more dominant alongside Donovan Mitchell. The Cavs will be fine. They'll be, at minimum, a second-round team, and you go from there.
Gene, do you have any favorite between Borrego and Atkinson, and even throw Nori in there now with him getting an interview?
With Atkinson, I know, Joe, you mentioned about him sitting next to the Steve Kerr on the bench, the Warriors winning some rings, but we just had that. We had Luke Walton on the bench under JB, and you would think that you could get some kind of Steph Clay type coaching, and probably it was there, but it just didn't work out with Garland and Mitchell. So that, I don't know. I look at the list. We talked about this last week a little bit. I don't see one guy really sticking out over the other. The one thing I can say about the roster, though, if you're going to come out and say that you're going to keep the core 4, I think that could be a little bit of a smokescreen, because if you're trying to hire a coach and you're looking at your roster, and you're maybe going to trade some of your best players, and all that's coming out right now, and you're trying to bring this guy in and sell him to what you have. Well, during the interview process, they better be talking about it. Hey, if we're going to change this roster up, what are you thinking? Are you going to move Donovan over to the 1 and have somebody else in the backcourt so that way Donovan's the smallest guy in the backcourt? Because for me, the roster feels like after now the last 2 years and seeing how we lost, more injuries this year than last year, but the physical play in the playoffs, we're more like a regular season roster. It's a fun roster. We had the opportunity to finish second in the East if we took that last game serious, but I think we played how we were supposed to play so we could get that 4 seed and go up against an inexperienced Orlando team. And as we all saw, we needed that to be able to get to that next level because Boston played at a different level there in round 2, plus us dealing with our injuries. But I just don't see, I think back to Dame and CJ in Portland, as well as that combo could score in the regular season. It just didn't really go anywhere in the playoffs. So I just think Darius, every time I was watching him in the playoffs, and, bless him, man, he plays hard. He could put up a lot of points. It just, he looked too small at so many moments in the playoffs. And part of it could be because he's had his face broken how many times?
Yeah.
He has dealt with a lot of injuries to his head in his face area. So I give him credit. It's not because he's not tough. But, he could have been maybe a little gun shy going to the hoop when sometimes we saw him just kind of throw it up. And it's like, where's it going? Is he even aiming for the square on the glass? Tough situation. I think he had off the court, too. I think he lost a family member, a grandmother or something that from this year. So, maybe this roster does come back and this new coach can put us together and see what happens. And hopefully we can get some health. But I am concerned going into next year's how is this roster going to match up in the playoffs. Thankfully, we don't have to deal with the West. This year, there was a lot of injuries in the East with Embiid being out too, Milwaukee going through their injuries. So, I think that's why Boston looked fresh going into the finals because of how many games they didn't have to play. So we'll see what they do. It's going to be a challenge. I just hope the coach that comes in really wants to be here, and it's not like our second or third guy on our list that we want.
But I think that the Borrego thing too, I think what they're looking at is, especially when he was in Charlotte, he got the most out of his guard play and scoring out of his guards. So I think they think he can be beneficial to both Mitchell and Garland and figuring out a way for them to coexist. I think with the Allen thing, I think if there is a guy to go, it's going to be him. And, they have the relationship with New Orleans, and it seems to make too much sense with the Cavs needing a wing of a Allen Ingram swap.
Yeah, you get Ingram, and you figure out a way to get some backup guards. I don't see no reason why this team can't. Another name that the Cavs should consider is Chris Quinn. I think Chris Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't do Borrego, I think, and as much as I really don't want the Cavs to give a first-time head coach a shot, because I feel like the direction that this team is trying to go, you shouldn't have a coach that's making first-time mistakes and stuff like that. You should have somebody that's ready to go and ready to lead this team at least past the second round. So I feel like Chris Quinn he stepped in for, the coach down there in Miami. And I think
Spoelstra.
He's from up this way. He's from up this way. So, the Cavs seem to love these Northeast Ohio guys. So, But I got to get out of here, man. Like, I'll definitely jump on another time within the next few weeks, man. I got to go get some food. I'm starving. My mom's hungry. So.
All right, I appreciate you coming on and talking about the softball game.
Man. I appreciate it.
So, we'll get you on again.
All right, Marshawn.
All right.
Yep, take care, Marshawn.
Yes, sir.
We need to get an Uber sponsor so he can eat.
Right? Yeah.
Right during the show. I want to see it delivered right while we're talking.
Uber Eats.
The one other thing I wanted to mention about the coaching before we move on is the the Dan Gilbert effect. He's supposedly heavily involved now that he's, feeling good, he's healthy. Is there a Dan Gilbert wild card name out there? In the past, we've had guys like David Blatt and the John Beeline disaster. Those were Dan Gilbert guys.
Dan Gilbert's going to bring LeBron as a player coach.
I said that.
That's the only thing that makes me nervous is if everybody falls in love with Borrego, and then all of a sudden out of left field comes a Gilbert hire that nobody's seen or heard about.
There's been a championship won with a player coach, Lou Boudreau, in 1948. For the Indians.
I do have two things real quick. Number one, James, you made a really great. You said something really great, which is it could be a smokescreen. Saying that these players are untouchable, and then saying to the coaches, "Okay, well, what would you do? How would our roster look to you?" So that's something that is obviously could be done. There was supposedly interest from the San Antonio Spurs for Darius Garland. Unfortunately, unless you're giving me Wemby, I'm not giving you. You could give me your entire roster. I'm not taking it.
Devin Vassell, I would have been interested in, but they said, "Oh, he's untouchable too." Well, then we don't want your scraps.
What else do you have, San Antonio? You have nothing. You have draft picks. We don't want. We traded draft picks for.
Hey, we need a coach.
Yeah.
Garland for Popovich. There you go.
Oh my, Keldon Johnson, your next 3 first-round picks, and Popovich. Maybe then I think about it. But I love DG. Again, James, like you said, he's been punched in the face early in the year and midway through the year every year for the last 3 years. So he's constantly having to come back from people just apparently just eye pokes and elbows and fists and that's that's rough having to come back from that constantly. But I'm not going to be a DG apologist. He plays hard, and we'll see what happens if this is really truly the team that's going to be on the court come next season. And finally, I do want to say rest in peace to Jerry West. He passed away today. I believe today was either today or late last night. He was 86 years old. The Logo, a Lakers legend, and obviously an icon for being the NBA, the silhouette of the NBA logo. So, thoughts and prayers to his family, and rest in peace, because he absolute legend.
Yeah, Hall of Fame player and Hall of Fame general manager. All right, moving on. I did have one rant about there's a couple national media members out there that talking about Cavaliers trades, and one in particular brought up the Nets, and he said, "I think the Cavs would be a great trade partner for either Garland or Mitchell. The Nets have plenty of first-round picks to give up." I think some of these people aren't understanding this is not a rebuild situation. Mm-hmm. Whether Mitchell leaves or not, if Mitchell leaves, we're going to trade him for other pieces we can put around Garland and Mobley and Allen. If they trade Garland, it's the same thing. We're going to get pieces we can put around the other three. There's not a rebuild situation. We don't need first-round picks. It's not going to happen in either scenario. So just kind of get irritated when I see some of these national guys talking about, "Oh, this team has all the first-round picks that the Cavs can recoup." We don't need first-round picks. We want to win. We're trying to win a championship, not rebuild.
And the one thing from last week, Joey, that I brought up, I know you weren't on the show, but we brought up Mobley, because Mobley, I think, has to become that too. I think his shot attempts need to go up. I think the confidence that he got maybe in this between Orlando and the Boston series can help elevate him. Plus, just age. I mean, he's a young guy. So I think some people develop slower, but we know the skill set's there. I think he has a beautiful mid-range jump shot. He's a good free throw shooter. He's trying to expand his game out to the three-point line. He's got a nice shot. He's got a great touch around the basket, great defensively. I think at some point he's got to be the number 2 next to Mitchell, regardless of what Jared Allen and Darius Garland are doing.
Well, I mean, I kind of agree with you with almost everything you said. But for me, it goes. For me, it's weight and aggression. He needs to add more
Needs
weight,
some weight, yeah.
and he needs to be more aggressive. When he is more aggressive in a game, you can tell. You could tell by his, obviously you see his stats and by the scoreboard. They're usually up double digits when he's being when he's banging in there, getting those offensive rebounds, he's getting those blocks. When he's being aggressive, Evan Mobley, you're seeing what we're hoping, what people were hoping. This is where he should be already, not once every 5-6 games. So is that maybe because he has Jared Allen? That's, people have asked that question. I don't have the answer. And all these these people, this team's interested. You know what? The only time I've seen anyone make something that was sort of, I thought to myself, I would potentially make that trade, and I don't even know all the pieces, but it revolved around Garland and Brandon Ingram from New Orleans. That would be something I would entertain, because that would bring us a wing who averages 25 and he's 26 and he averages 20 points, 5 boards, 5 assists, a block, 2 steals. I mean, Brandon Ingram's he's a good wing, and they have other wings. They got Trey Murphy, they got Herb Jones, they got Zion. So I can't remember the exact trade. It might have been like CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram for Darius Garland, Jared Allen, and maybe Niang or something like that.
Yeah, I saw that too. It was something along those lines.
That would be something I would possibly entertain, even though McCollum's getting up there. And it's still 2 small guards, but now you have a 6'8" wing, and then you move Mobley to the 5, and we'd be able to bring someone in at power forward.
I think the other one too that would be a no-brainer for me is for Mikal Bridges from the Nets.
He's for me, Bridges is he's like a Mobley. When he wants to be aggressive, he's like unstoppable. And when the other games that he's not, he's got like 16 points and 5 assists and or 5 boards, 2 assists, whatever. He's not as consistent to me as, say, a Brandon Ingram. So if that one would be a little harder for me to be like, okay, but yeah, he's still a wing. I put him in the probably top 15 wings in the NBA. So if that's where the direction that they want to go, and for me, I think that if you want to be an NBA champion, you have to have either a Luka Doncic who can play point guard or play wing, or an actual wing, Jason Tatum, LeBron, KD. I mean, Giannis can basically play every position on the court. So it does, I mean, you want to have that size. You want to have that guy that can hit the 3, who can hit that, 15-foot jumper, who can get to the rim, who can pass the ball, who can rebound the ball. That's what you need. That's why they're so important in today's game. And the Cavs are the closest thing we have is Dean Wade. And don't get me wrong, love Dean Wade. Honestly, one of the nicest human beings on the planet. But if you're talking about winning a championship, you're gonna need something more than Dean Wade.
Yeah,
that's where I was going to go with Mobley, because that's the one thing I left out. Personality. The dude is so soft spoken. I would love to see him pissed off.
You know what?
I don't know if that's going to play into his game, but I think that would help with his aggression on the court. Sure, he needs to eat a few cheeseburgers that Sabathia used to eat when he was in town, for sure. Put some weight on and really, hold his own in the paint. But I think the concern too with Jarrett and Mobley, and then you look at Darius to Mitchell, is that our 2 guys that are out of that core 4 are so small, and they're the ones that can really create their own shot off the dribble. And I don't know that. I think Mitchell's way better than Garland is at that. And I think we need somebody with size that can create their own shot off the dribble. Look at what Jaylen Brown and gosh, yes, Tatum. That's what I think. That's kind of on our it's really playing to your point of a Brandon Ingram, somebody that's got size that can create their own shot.
I mean, they've been interested in Ingram for the last 2 years now, supposedly, and I heard this I don't know what the deal was going to be, but supposedly Kobe was trying to get him at the deadline last year.
I think that both teams are just trying to figure out what do they need, because New Orleans has Zion Williamson, but they need him. They need him to be an everyday player.
Yeah.
So if he becomes that, I think that you can then look around and go, okay, well, what do we need? Do we, McCollum's getting a little older. Do we want to go after, Darius Garland? Because they have the players. They can say, okay, we'll give you Brandon Ingram, because then they have Trey Murphy and Herb Jones behind them, who are both, one of those guys can step up and easily be, they've both proven to be good players, especially when Ingram was hurt. So it's not like they have the ammunition to step up and get, kind of whoever they, not to say whoever they want, but to get someone like Darius Garland. It's just a matter of, are the Cavs open to it? Are the Cavs really being honest when they say that we're not going to move off the core four? So like I said, time will tell, and hopefully we'll have something to talk about here in the next few weeks.
Oh, we talked about this last week. Who was the last good small forward the Cavs had?
LeBron.
Clarence said Alonzo. Well, before LeBron. Clarence said Alonzo G.
Yeah.
I would say probably Hot Rod Williams.
Yeah, it goes back to that era.
I mean, I love Chris Mills. I loved, I shouldn't say I love Lamont Murray, but he was a pretty solid three. He was solid next to Wesley Person.
Missing person.
But yeah, you're.
I mean, if like, do you mean good as in like actually good, or good
a guy that can shoot and score, pretty much?
You know who wasn't bad, and it was just a forgotten time in Cleveland, was God, what was it? Was it Darius Miles?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's I would probably say, but I mean, you're talking. I mean, we had Z, so you were talking probably about, like, you're at that time you're talking the just terrible players, but who have to, someone's got to score. Right. So I mean, if you're asking me, I would probably say Hot Rod Williams, because they had, what was that? There was Doherty at center, Nance at power forward. Williams was like a 6'10" or 6'11" small forward. Craig Elo was a
he came off the bench more as a 4, I think.
Yeah,
Mike Sanders was kind of.
Sanders actually started at the 3.
We had Mike Sanders back then, and then it went to Winston Bennett, was also from Kentucky. He started to start a lot of games as a 3.
I thought,
but he was not.
I was thought the starting 5 was Price, Elo, Williams, Nance, and Doherty.
No, Hot Rod was the 6th man.
No, the more
I think what you're talking about is a little bit later in the, maybe, I don't know, because I remember Hot Rod coming off the bench quite a bit because it was that Sanders was the 3, and then about 88, I think.
Yeah, the good late 80s teams. He was the 6th man. The Sanders.
Yeah, but eventually when when the uniforms turned to hideous, that black and powder blue, I think Hot Rod was a starter more. Yeah, I think later in his career there, but he had a nice shot. But I think he was more maybe a 4-5 type guy. But
I mean,
we brought up Danny Ferry too. I know that's very exciting.
I don't know. I know that. I mean, from the 89-90 season until the 94-95 season, and this is all with Cleveland, he was averaging between 30 and 35 minutes a game. So those are starter minutes.
Yeah, he came off the bench, but he definitely played starter minutes.
Rest in peace, Hot Rod.
I like Hot Rod.
Yeah, rest in peace.
He was awesome.
He was awesome. Yeah, those were some fun teams. All right, moving on to the Browns. Mini camp's underway. They got a little situation going on. Amari Cooper is holding out. Didn't practice yesterday or today. He's got 1 year left on his deal. He's looking for a contract extension with the Browns. Haven't heard any numbers. I'm sure it's not going to be cheap. He's definitely a guy you want to keep. Deshaun Watson called him best receiver in the league. I know it's embellishing a little bit, but I mean, he's been a stud since he's been here. Yeah, definitely a guy you want to keep around for a couple more years. So what are your guys' thoughts? Joey, we'll start with you on Amari.
I mean, it's tough. He's, what's he? I think he's 30 now. So he's starting to,
30 years old.
he's getting around that age where receivers really start to decline. He hasn't showed signs of it yet. So obviously you got to take that into account. He has 1 year left on his contract. I think that, the Cavs are kind of in a spot right now where they can't really be giving out massive contracts anymore. I mean, everyone, we keep saying that the salary cap is a myth, but eventually it's going to catch up. So, I think you kind of, they're gonna have to try and figure something out. But I mean, I would try and figure something out for maybe negate this year and add another year, to make it 2 years. I don't know, go for it because he's making, I think, what, 20 million.
Yeah,
Maybe try
Yeah.
to do 2 years, 30 million, but make 2 years, 60 million. I mean, but make the last 10 million incentive based. Because I mean, if Amari plays like he's been playing, then he's gonna hit those incentives.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like that's probably your best bet as far as re-signing him, because you're giving him an extra year, of 20 million guaranteed, while also saying, okay, well, you have another, here's another 20 million that you can earn. So he's got a little bit more security guarantee, and we're not going to invest another 4 years into Amari, where he's going to be 34 by the time his contract's up. And
James,
we might have to hit we'll hit some dead cap money at that point.
Right. James, what do you feel about it?
To me, it's June. I don't care to see him on the football field. Hell, Jerry Jeudy was at practice and didn't participate. So
Yep.
He's as good as the media members there as far as contributions on the field for a practice in June. So I just want him to be healthy. This is, to me, it's a contract, but it's, some load management too. I don't blame him for not being there. If there's anybody that you trust on this team to be a true professional that'll be ready when it's time to go, when you have to be there, it's Amari. I mean, he's proven that. And I would have never guessed last year when he got 1,000 yards that we hadn't had a receiver with back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving seasons. I mean, that was pretty impressive for me, that all the receivers we had to not be able to have that. I mean, don't get me wrong, we've had a lot of bad ones since '99, but I give him a lot of credit. He's just a true pro. I hope he gets paid. 20 million a year for this season's not bad. How far along after this? Yeah, he started to break down a little bit towards the end of the season. I really think he was playing pretty banged up.
Yeah.
But I mean, I trust the guy 100%. But how far do you extend him? I agree. It's maybe year to year after this. Like you said, maybe add a year onto it. To me, that does make sense. Go from there.
Yeah, I think he's one guy I don't worry about missing time, because I think he can step on the field and just pick up right where he left off. And Derek said pay Coop.
We're gonna take it out of your salary, Derek.
A couple other notes. Deshaun Watson participating in the 7-on-7s, doing a lot of throwing today. He was doing some mock throwing, but yesterday he ramped it up and had some zip, as the Cleveland media like to say. They like to talk about the zip. So he was out there doing his thing.
Was it zipping on an imaginary ball or an actual ball?
It was on the actual ball. I don't know how much zip he had on the imaginary ball today.
Yeah, I heard he could throw 98 with an imaginary baseball. So
I did see Jameis make a nice sideline throw to Jerome Ford. Nice.
Yeah, build the statue right there.
That's James' boy. And a lot of the offensive players have been raving about the new offense that Stefanski and Ken Dorsey are putting in. And David Njoku called it juicy. So what do you think that means?
You go first on this one, James.
I'm afraid
Yeah,
what Joey's gonna say.
juicy playbook sounds a little inappropriate to me. So I don't know. Maybe there were some other pages that were put in there that we don't know about that aren't good for kid viewers. I don't know. I honestly don't know because I every time you think of Dorsey, at least around here, you go back to his quarterback play when he played for us. Then you go back to Ohio State beating him in Miami. I just don't know. I mean, I know he's had success with Cam Newton. I know he's had some success with Buffalo's quarterback as well. But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, he was already up there with Josh, and they let him go. So I honestly. Just it's going to be wait and see because you can have all the creativity you want, but if you don't have the guys that can take it out of the playbook and put it on the field, then it doesn't matter.
I like Ken Dorsey, nice guy, but I don't think you could use Ken Dorsey and the term juicy in the same sentence ever. I think no, it's just one of those things don't belong. And I think maybe they're just. I think having Jerry Jeudy is going to open up a lot of things, especially with Amari Cooper. I think one of the most underrated pickups this entire season for any team was Dante Foreman. I think I think he could really be big for the Browns. And I think you got Coop, you got on one side, Jeudy on the other. You're going to really have an opportunity for Jeudy to have a breakout season. And I know they've been saying that in Denver for 4 years, but look who he's had throwing to him. And Cooper is just a different animal than anything that they've had in Denver. So same as our offensive line. And I think maybe they're putting in plays that are just something things that we haven't seen here in Cleveland. They're really going to try and open that field up, and you're not going to be seeing these 5-yard passes or swing passes as much as you're going to really just be letting them sling it 20 yards downfield a lot of. So hopefully that's what he means by juicy. Really opening up the field, and that would be pretty nice as opposed to having to rely on luck or someone breaking or David Njoku breaking 15 tackles to gain 10 yards. So
yeah, we already had a wide receiver named the Juice. So
yeah,
who?
Jarvis Landry, Juice Landry.
Oh,
and that didn't. It helped us get going as far as towards
he was
a winning
Juice
direction, but.
He was Juice Landry. He wasn't the Juice. There's only one the Juice.
We only had one here, and he didn't kill anybody. So
that we know of.
Juicy Jerry Jeudy now. Try to say that 5 times fast.
The one thing I did hear Watson say about it is it's going to allow the guys to play to their strengths and kind of do what they want to do out there and do their thing. So kind of have more freedom and playing to their strengths.
If you're playing to Jeudy and Cooper's strengths, that's the route running.
Yeah,
the route running is both of them are probably. I mean, Coop is probably top 5 route runners in the league, and Judy's probably top 20. And then Njoku is just do whatever you want, get open, and start running people over. So. And then we got to see, who's going to be in our slot and who's going to be the starting running back. Is Ford going to stay at the starter, or are they going to do by committee with Ford and Foreman? And hopefully we'll see Nick Chubb on the field at some point this season.
Yeah.
I think one thing I'm interested in seeing is the new kickoff. And Kevin Stefanski, I heard him, I think he was on 92.3. He said people are going to want to watch the preseason just for that.
I'm interested.
And Myles Garrett's went to the coaches and said he wants to line up. He said he'll do anything he can. He wants to be a part of it.
Murder on the field.
That would be interesting.
Myles Garrett is barely the same thing as other people. Like, people just don't realize how big Myles Garrett is. I mean, like, he is barely the same thing as us. he is like I mean, if there was ever like a super human, it would be Myles Garrett. I mean, it's not even you can't even put it into
Yeah.
words until like you see him up close. You're like, oh my god, like this is a different species.
If they make another Jurassic Park, he can actually play the T-Rex.
My god, I mean, I look at him like, if Jurassic Park, he's like the dinosaur. They spliced everything. They all the good stuff from together to create one like super dinosaur. I mean, he's just a different type of human being, and I mean that's I'm glad he plays for the Browns. I'll tell you that.
Oh yeah. All right, moving on to the Guardians. The train keeps rolling right along, 43-22, coming into tonight's second game against the Reds. Beating them last night 5-3. Currently have the third best record in the AL, 5.5 ahead of Kansas City, 9 ahead of the Twins. Some good news is a lot of reports saying that Dolan has given the green light to be aggressive at this trade deadline and add payroll, thanks to the booming attendance early in the season. And I think it was Jim Bowden reported that the word around the league with other GMs is that Antonetti's calling around seeking a mid-rotation starting pitcher and a corner outfielder with some pop. So they're not looking to just add one piece. And if you can get both of those, I mean, I think that would be huge. I don't know. I know Luis Robert from the White Sox is available. That would be hell of an addition. I don't see the White Sox trading within the division, but
but he doesn't have any pop. Doesn't he have he's like one home run this year, doesn't he?
I would just like to see the dude stay healthy.
Or am I thinking of Arias?
I don't know. I know he was hurt this year. I know he's had some pop in the past. Let me look him up real quick.
Anything from the White Sox feels toxic.
Yeah,
yeah. Right now, yeah. He has 5 home runs, and he's only had 55 at bats this year because of an injury.
You're right.
But the fact that they're looking to add to the rotation and the lineup is a very good sign. It shows that they know what they have, they believe in this team, and they want to make a run this year.
He had 38 home runs last year in 145 games.
Yeah, when the dude's healthy, he's a stud, and he's only 26 years old.
Right, but the 3 years prior to that, he had 12, 13, and 11. So I don't know if I want to take a flyer on a guy who's had one good year if we're going to be giving up a ton of prospects. Although should have also said the first place Cleveland Guardians, who also have the first pick in this year's MLB draft.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Trying to say we're going to trade that pick at the deadline.
No one cares about MLB picks.
Yeah, not quite.
They're trying their damnedest.
I got a really good friend. Shout out! I'll give him a shout out. His name is Brian Pellegrini. He's the head coach for Willoughby South varsity baseball out in Willoughby. And he was drafted the same year, actually ahead of Albert Pujols by the Houston Astros. And he actually was a hell of a player. Unfortunately, he the injury bug caught up to him, but he was really getting the crap out of the ball down in the minors. But the injury got him. But no, Pujols was taken late, a bunch of rounds later than he was, and Pujols is one of the best players of all time. So you never know. But you got 2 guys out there right now, and Charlie Condon and Joey Bonzana.
Travis Bonzana. Yeah.
Travis, my bad. And it's going to be one of those 2.
Yeah.
I personally like Bonzana better.
Really?
He can steal bases.
Yeah. I'm a home run guy, so I like Condon.
Yeah, but Bonzana's like right there with him.
He is.
So you're not. I mean, they're kind of the same player. They're both like I think 166, 164, or something like that. I mean, like the only difference that you see in their stats is stolen bases, really. from Manzana, and then a couple more homers from Charlie Condon. But
Yeah.
that'll be interesting. It'll be interesting.
Some good news on the pitching front. Gavin Williams is set to make his 4th rehab start Saturday. He's been looking good. No pain in the elbow, so he should be back hopefully within the next week or so. And then another starting pitcher who they had probably would have been up here had he been healthy is Joey Cantillo. Just came back, just made his 2nd rehab start. I think it was last night, and actually looked really good. So, there's another lefty option for the rotation as well that they may have in another couple weeks. So, it's going to be interesting. Like I said, it looks like they're going to be aggressive at the deadline. I've kind of in the back of my mind, I've been like waiting for them to come down to earth, and they just aren't doing it. I mean, they just keep winning, and you got to think they're for real by now. I mean, it's June, and they're still playing at this level. But they do have a tough schedule coming up, one of the toughest schedules the rest of the season. So some reinforcements would probably be beneficial. All right.
Is there anyone out there that you think is available outside of like Luis Roberts that you would say, you know what, I will give up a sizable package to get this player?
It looks like the Blue Jays are cleaning house or going to clean house.
I do not know if there's anyone from the Blue Jays who I think would make a big difference.
Vladimir Guerrero.
Even he's having a rough season right now. And where are you going to play him? We have a better version of Vlad with Josh Naylor right now.
That's the problem. You need an outfielder, and he's not an outfielder.
Yeah. Who I was like, you know what, if they start going down, someone who I would try to go after, but then they just came I think it was player voted, and it was the most overrated players in the league, and the players voted for Jazz Chisholm Jr. and I was like, oh, that'd be a guy who I think would be a good addition to the Cavs. Put like Quan 1, Jazz 2, Jose 3, like that. Then it came out, and everyone's like, all the players like, oh, he's overrated. I think they're just haters.
I'll tell you one guy who I think deserves a shot now, and he can replace Arias as far as I'm concerned, is Sean Kensey Noel, who's just looking as good as he's looked in his minor league career. He's got his average up almost 290, and he's just hitting home runs like crazy. I mean, he's on a crazy tear right now. I mean, he's still young. He's only 21, but I think he deserves a look here.
I feel extremely lucky to have covered the captains for Cleveland 2 years ago, because I got to talk to and meet and get to know a lot of players like Gavin Williams and Tanner Bybee, and Tanner's dad Scott, just an unbelievably nice human being.
Yeah, great people.
And John Kensey Noel and Jonathan Rodriguez, and just all these players who we're seeing now, who are talking about, that are going to be coming up. We're on that team, and players that are in AAA who might be getting a shot here at some point. They were all on that captain's team. But I will say this: I'll never forget. I was writing my story, and I can't remember who was in the press box with me. I can't remember who it was, but they said John Kensey Noel he's got the sound, and I didn't know what the sound meant. And it meant when he hits a home run, it. You don't even have to look up. And this was, and I was like, oh, that's, okay. He cracks the ball, and it goes very, very far. And I was just typing up my story like a couple days later, and he was up the bat, and I wasn't even looking, and he hit it, and I was like, that's the sound. And I looked up, and the ball was just so far out of the stadium. I was like, okay, I get it now. He's got that kind of power. And I wish I could remember who said that to me. It was someone from a bigger publication that had only been there like 2 or 3 times. But he had seen Noel enough to know that he had that sound. So when he hits home runs, you know it. And that kind of power doesn't come along very often. And he's, it seems like, he did it in single A. Then it took him time to readjust in double A, but he did. Then it took him time to readjust in triple A, and he's done it. So is that next logical move to bring up John Kenzie Noel? And that's very, very, and that could be extremely likely. I mean, he is just gotten better and better and better. And like you said, he's only 21 years old.
Yeah, and that's the thing with him. He's always had the power numbers, but his average has always been around that 220, 230. And like any young power hitter, he strikes out a lot.
Well,
this is the first time he's really gotten that average up there, and he's making good contact other than hitting home runs.
Well, let me ask you this: Would you take Kyle Schwarber from last year? He hit he hit 200, but had like 49 homers or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'll take a guy who's hitting 200 if he's hitting 50 homers a year.
Yeah, if you're hitting 40, 50 home runs, then yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That's acceptable.
Especially with our new left field, the way that ball's traveling.
I mean, isn't that right field?
Right field, you mean?
Or right field, that's right. Yeah. I mean, they also did the upper deck of the left field as well.
The wind tunnel physics. I don't know. You know what? Someone sent me like, and I was like, I don't know if this is real or it's some sort of shenanigans, but I mean, it's if it's real, then good for them, and if it's some sort of BS, then we just got a little bit more power this year. Oh, and one more thing, Jose, don't go into the freaking home run derby. This happens every year.
Yes.
Every year. Me and Kevin have talked about this. I pointed this out to him. Every year, someone is bombing home runs, and then they go into the home run derby, and then they just stop. Something about the home run derby, like they might even win the home run derby, and then they just cannot. It happened to Vlad Guerrero. He was like second or third in home runs in the league, and then I think he hit 4 the rest of the year. Like the home run derby, it needs every other team go for it. Jose, Josh, nope, stay away from it.
That wind tunnel must have traveled down to Cincinnati last night on that Josh Naylor home run.
Oh my God, that was just a beautiful swing, though. That was a pretty swing.
He's looks like he was struggling there for a while, but it looks like he's starting to find himself again. Thankfully,
no.
Yeah, the Guards were up 2-1 here, bottom of the 6th. Bybee gave up a home run. They took him out. Reds up 4-2 now. Still bottom of the 6th.
Damn.
He had 10 Ks too. Bobby had 10 strikeouts go before that home run.
While we're on the baseball subject, we had a couple guys, Lucas Cochran, Derek Dimmitt, out Sunday at Canal Park covering the state championships. Had a couple Northeast Ohio teams, the West Branch Warriors, who won the Division II title, first title in history. And then the Twinsburg Tigers, unfortunately, their kind of Cinderella season came to an end. They lost 8-1. But interesting story is both those teams kind of were tied in. Former Twinsburg coach Jeff Luca, who tragically passed away in a car accident last December 5th. He was the head coach at Twinsburg and was also a graduate of a West Branch. So that kind of brought both communities together for those games, and they played right after each other. So they were there kind of supporting each other. And that was really cool to see. And, congratulations to West Branch getting their first state championship. And Coach Rick Mullenix going out on top, announcing after the game that he's resigning as coach. So,
oh, wow.
He went out a winner. Well, his son's a senior, so he's moving on.
Oh, wow.
So Rick's
can't ask for anything better.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, congrats to the Twinsburg Tigers.
Yes.
I mean, you and I both know the Twinsburg quite well. Their AD, a bunch of their coaches, and that's just a fantastic school, fantastic community from top to bottom. And congrats to them making it so far. And I think that they have the talent that they'll be back there.
Yeah, they ran into a really good Mason team from Southern Ohio who's got some Division I prospects. I know the one kid's going to Ohio State, so they're a hell of a team. But congrats or kudos to Lucas and Derek for the great coverage on Sunday. They did a great job.
Yes.
All right, before we wrap it up, Cleveland Monsters, Eastern Conference Finals, got down 3-0. Looked like they were dead and gone, and come back and even up the series. Game 7 going on tonight. I think the last check they were down 2-1. Is that still the same?
Correct. Hershey's up 2-1. 16:50 left in the third period.
Going to need some
shots on goal. Cleveland 25, Hershey 24. So, they're just as attacking the goal the same as Hershey. So not any kind of big advantage there. Yeah, I've been kind of watching that out of the corner of my eye the whole night. So
before we wrap it up, you got to cover Game 5 in Cleveland. Let's talk about that experience for a minute.
Yeah, that was special. In fact, I probably owe the entire hockey community in Northeast Ohio an apology because I said last week that Cleveland is not a hockey town. But being in that building and seeing some of the Cleveland Monsters backers on Facebook page and seeing them interact and the public meeting spot, I forget the name of the place, Pinnacle or Pioneer or wherever they go to have watch parties. They're having a watch party there tonight. Didn't really realize, I guess, how important hockey is to a lot of fans here in Cleveland because I've been there at games where the upper decks closed off and they don't even sell tickets, but there was plenty of people up in those seats and it was completely loud. And I've been there for Cavs playoffs games and it was a great atmosphere. And it was good to see the guys after the game doing the press conference, just kind of listen to them talk. And, it takes you back and realize that from covering the Ducks this year and covering, this one game here up for the Monsters, these guys being in their, early to mid 20s, and just realizing they were just such at the beginning of their career that us as fans, sometimes we really bust their balls when they screw up or make mistakes. But hell, all of us have been in our 20s. We've all, obviously not professional athletes, but we've all been there. And sometimes we need to cut these guys some slack because they are giving it their all, both on and off the field and on and off the ice. So, great experience. Hopefully we can pull this one out. Still got 19 minutes left, so we can be in the Calder Cup finals starting next week.
Yeah, it'd be awesome to get to cover the 3 home games for the championship series.
Absolutely.
All right, any last words before we wrap this thing up?
Kevin still looks like he's in his 20s.
Thank you, Joey.
You're welcome.
I love you.
It's got to be said every time.
I will say this is what it would have felt like if I would have came on All Things Cavalier for as much time as we spent in June talking about the Cavs. Here we are, middle of baseball season, and spent a lot of time talking about Cleveland basketball, and it's fine. I love it. It's fun. And I really can't wait to see what they do.
Yeah, hopefully maybe by our next show Monday we'll have a better idea on the coach, and maybe we'll have one hired. Who knows? They may feel pressure to get Borrego wrapped up.
Hello. Hey. It's Dan Gilbert. Hey Dan, hold on. I'll call you after the show. I can do interview next week. So we'll talk later. All right. Thanks. Bye.
You know what? I would be honest for a bit. I was like, what an asshole. He's answering a phone call.
I'm like, why are you taking a call during the show? I'm like, what the hell? Couldn't have waited another few minutes.
That was so good.
That's a good way to end it. All right, everybody. Appreciate you tuning in again. And we will be back, but on our normal schedule of Mondays at 8 p.m. starting next week. We've had some scheduling issues the first couple weeks, but we're ready to get going on Mondays. So, again, appreciate you tuning in, and we will see you all on Monday.